Alrighty guys, time for another video. Today we're going to be looking at the GTX 1650, and our game of choice today is going to be Fortnite. I'm going to go through a bunch of different settings and resolutions, as you can see here on the screen. We're going to do 4K with low and medium presets. We're going to move on to 1080p, do all the presets there. Then again, a little bit later, whoa, a little bit of a word twist there, but anyways, going to do 1080p, low, medium, 100% scale afterwards. And lastly, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of fun and do 1080p, high and epic, using the DirectX 12 mode. Alright, let's get started. Alrighty, and the way we're going to be doing this video is we're going to start off with using the 4K resolution. I'm going to go through all the various presets that are in the game, and then towards the end of the video, I'm going to kind of like switch it up a little bit where I use the low and medium presets, but at 100% resolution scale at 1080p resolution. But anyways, going to the actual footage we're looking at right now, guys, at 4K with the medium presets, the game is playable. If you're like an old console gamer from back in the day when 30 FPS was fine for you guys, you'll be chilling, but it doesn't quite hit 60 all that often. And in fact, it's kind of a little jumpy and stuff, so wouldn't recommend it. If you are looking just for like pure eye candy, you have 4K and you have 4K monitor, again, the card's not really built for it, but it's playable. I wouldn't go any higher than 4K on it. I mean, medium on it. Anyways, if you do want to go ahead and drop the preset down to low at 4K, it is definitely doable. Again, the 3D resolution drops quite a bit when you actually do this, so that's why the FPS jumps so much, but again, it's actually playable. If you have a 4K monitor, and for instance, you have like a broken GPU, or this is a GPU you use, maybe you're not really into the graphical intensity or anything else, you just care about the actual size of the monitor, the pixel resolution, and everything else, well, here you go. It's actually fairly playable. The FPS is pretty high and everything else, and you can easily adjust the settings around to actually get a little bit more eye candy and everything else. If you're aiming for like 60, if you have 4K 60 Hz monitor, then you can definitely go ahead and do that. If you have a higher Hertz monitor, well, here you go. You guys are perfectly fine. You want a GTX 1650, so there you are. Alrighty, moving on to the next thing. We're going down to 1080p, however, we are going to the highest preset, which is the Epic preset. That also means the resolution scale is at 100%, and again, it's okay, it's playable. Like if you're a, console gamer back in the day, 30 FPS was fine and everything else. It's not the worst, it's definitely doable. Again, probably if you're a normal PC gamer, though, you don't really want to deal with this kind of frame rate, but if you're just going for pure eye candy and stuff, it's doable. Definitely doable. Could also do a bit of an overclock. I did not actually overclock the card. These are just the factory overclock settings and everything else. So again, you could probably get a little higher FPS, but similar to the original 4K medium preset, it's not that great. If you go ahead and lower it down to high, again, I'm going off presets, so the 3D resolution scale is also being affected. You are finally over 60 FPS, so if you have something like a 60 Hz monitor or something else, you're going to benefit from just going high, honestly. I mean, yeah, sure, the 1% and everything else might not be that great and all that stuff, but at the minimum, I mean, at least it's, it's above 60 for the most part. I didn't notice any major drops. Again, I'm kind of cutting out the footage a bit here. I had to do a lot more footage in general, but overall the actual frame rate was very good, like pretty consistently over 60 FPS. So if you're just going for 60 is fine for you, you want to stay around there, a little bit higher, just to have a bit of a buffer zone. You can absolutely do 1080p at the high preset. Again, just remember the resolution scale is dropping. I'm just going off presets and stuff. I'll adjust it a little bit later in the video, change it up a bit. Moving down to the medium preset, if you're somebody that has like a 144 Hz monitor, or like an older 120 Hz panel or so, you're kind of in territory where you're kind of around that actual frame rate. Again, the 1% is going to be lower and everything else, but yeah, you can definitely actually reach like an actual like decent frame rate and everything else, so that's not too bad. Again, just going off the medium preset right over here, way more playable. Again, this is me actually trying to do a live game because unfortunately in creative they actually removed the massive, good old island you could use to do more controlled examples. So kind of just doing in the middle of the game, just showing you guys like real gameplay footage and how it'll actually like run and stuff. Kind of trying to run the exact same course over and over again. Anyways, let's go ahead and drop down to the low preset. Alright, once we actually get down to the low preset, the frame rate goes up incredibly. In fact, the CPU that I'm using, which will be in the description below, the 5800 X3D from good old AMD over here, actually can't keep up with the frame rate. As you can see, the actual like GPU usage is not that great. It's dropping a little bit. It's not the worst. It's not the worst. But again, we have a crazy high frame rate. So if you're somebody who has like a 240 Hz monitor, 360 Hz monitor, you probably don't have a GTX 1650. But in case you got to use a backup, or for some reason you do have it, it works pretty well. You can actually get a very high frame rate. Again, frame time is amazing, by the way, at that point. Anyways. That, unfortunately, does drop the 3D resolution scale. If we actually increase the resolution scale up to 100% at a low preset, you still have a pretty good frame rate. Like, if you had a 144 Hz monitor, it's pretty good. Frame time's also pretty good. Not as perfect as it was at low, obviously, but hey, it's very, very playable. If you're a 144 Hz person, 144 Hz kind of a gamer over here, you're perfectly fine. 240 Hz though, you're not quite reaching that, but hey, it's doable. So, I mean, it's a GTX 1650, it's a little older, but it's definitely playable. So there's that. If we go ahead and bump it up to the medium preset, you do get a bit of a drop going on as well. The frame time also gets a little worse, which obviously is going to happen, but overall, though, pretty playable. If you're into like 60 FPS stuff, like you're an old console gamer and stuff, and you kind of want a little bit of eye candy, a nice little balance and stuff, this is pretty good. You know, 1080p medium presets, 100%. Again, this is just using the factory overclock, no memory overclock though. So, you know, you might be able to get a little higher frame rate and stuff, so that's kind of good. You know, it's not bad, it's not bad. It's pretty playable, people, you know. Listen, I used to play like 30 FPS back in console days, you know, so I mean, hey, it's not the worst thing on the planet. You want to balance it out, eye candy and actual, like, you know, frame time and everything else, not the worst thing ever. Alrighty, now moving on to using the DirectX 12 mode in the game. We're going at 1080p at the high preset. Again, it is not very playable. You know, we're using a bit of lumen here, so the graphics do look quite a bit better. The lighting looks very, very nice. Unfortunately, the card is really, it's really not geared toward that, unfortunately. Definitely, you know, not doing too well. I didn't check out the other presets. With DirectX 12, wasn't really expecting much, honestly. But yeah, it's okay. It's definitely playable. It's doable. I wouldn't say it's you're gonna have a great game, but you can actually do stuff. If you bump it up to the Epic preset, though, you are now in the frames per minute category. Again, it says 1 FPS there, but I don't think it's actually rendering 1 frame per second. I think it's more slower than that, kind of like frames per minute. As you can tell, the frame time graph has increased quite a bit. It has increased quite a bit, so there is that. Definitely would not recommend it. I wouldn't say it's exactly playable. You might be able to do something, but you won't actually be able to play. At least that's what it seems like.